Hello guys and welcome again to the Dungeons of Fear and Hunger. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. You see the footage is sped up. Right now I'm just kind of showcasing what I got in my first kind of run that I'm doing. So basically moving forward I'm going to have a few different kinds of runs. So the first run that I'm going to do is an experimental run. So these are going to be just, I go out, I do whatever, and I kind of play with the mechanics and see what's possible, see what I want to do. And I discover a lot of knowledge from that, but I also die. So here, you can see on one of my experiments, I managed to figure out how to kill a guard without taking damage, and we're going to demonstrate that right now. So unfortunately, we missed the left arm, so we did take damage, and there was a chance that he could hack off my arm. But I go back in there and I attack. Basically on the second turn you want to guard, and then like on the fifth turn you want to guard. So you attack the left arm, kill it so you don't lose a limb, and then guard. And then you're going to hit the stinger, and then I usually like to go for the head just because it can kill it in one blow, but you can hit the body, it doesn't matter. Then if it's still alive you're going to guard, and then either hit the head twice or hit the body twice. It doesn't really matter. But you have to keep guarding every 3 turns. So here we don't really get many good book drops. Like they're okay. I do use lockpicking to get the girl, which I think is very valuable. I think lockpicking is probably one of the best skills that you can get at the very start. So we collect our herbs, we're gonna go up, and then I think we got the Assassin's Handbook, which I'm pretty sure tells you how to make different clothing out of leathers, which is very interesting. So you can combine like 2 guard skins to get like a guard skin outfit, I think. We're not really going to do much with that. Here we're killing another guard. But yeah, I think that's very interesting. I want to know what exactly the different skins will do. So like the guard skin, I wonder if like the guards would ignore you, maybe, or like what the pale skin does, maybe increases defense, or it's like a good armor in a pinch. So we're gonna go up. We're kind of ignoring Enki. I think I ignore Enki. No, I talk to him. That's just in case I can recruit him later, but I haven't figured out a way to recruit him, so I don't really care. I have figured out a way to recruit Ragnvaldr, which I'm not going to show off right now, but you do have to, I think, exhaust his dialogue. I'm not really sure on that. By the way, to get into the thicket, you have to use the explosive vial up on the top of the map. We're going to pray to Almer here. I've kind of discovered that like all of the different gods have different statues. We're going to run past the bunny people and grab the herb. I think you're supposed to pray to each statue of the god that they represent, and that's how you get more affinity with them. Because I had a couple of runs where I like prayed to different entities at different statues and it didn't really do anything, so I don't know if that makes a difference or not. Unfortunately, we did get kicked down to the jail, but that doesn't really matter. Basically what we're doing with this run, since we're just starting a new run, is we're going to try and land like a perfect save file. So basically a save file where kind of everything went right, and we can use that as kind of a leapfrog point for the future, for exploration and other experiments, and maybe even finishing the run. So now we're out of the thing. We grab a pine cone, but we don't have the book, I don't think. The pinecone pig actually is pretty useful and pretty nice. Whenever you equip it as an accessory, it's going to randomly give you like an item in battle, which is super useful. Usually it's something like a red vial or a throwing knife. Not stuff that's insanely useful, but it's still pretty nice to have. We've pretty much cleared all of the dungeon that we want to. I do prefer to roll the armory before I save, just because if I get some good rolls, then that way it locks it in, and if I don't get good rolls, that could be a reason to restart. So we're going to continue on through the dungeon, we grab the knife, and now we grab the peculiar doll. I don't know what the peculiar doll does for the girl, but we have it. So now you'll also notice I'm doing a new strategy where I'm avoiding pretty much all enemies. I'm running where I can, trying to take as few encounters as possible. You'll notice enemies in this game don't really give experience points, and they don't really give good items either. So you might fight a guard, and you might take a good amount of damage that could cost you 2 valuable blue herbs, and then you only get a cloth fragment out of it to maybe stop the bleeding that the guard could also inflict. Not really worth it to fight enemies. for the most part. I think there are a few enemies that could drop nice stuff, but it's just too much of a risk and it uses too much resources. This isn't like other RPGs. It's more like, I don't want to say like a walking sim, but it kind of has those vibes. So now we're going to go deeper into the dungeon. And the first thing you're going to notice is we're going to meet Pocket Cat. You can trade the girl to Pocket Cat to get some pretty nice items, honestly. Not sure if it's worth it or not, because the girl is a fairly useful party member. And this isn't necessarily an experimental run. I'm kind of trying to lock in stuff, but I'm kind of experimenting here anyway. Trying to just talk to the dog. This is not where I discover that you can recruit the dog. I've already recruited the dog in like a previous run that unfortunately I didn't record. But I did figure out if you give him 2 rotten meat, he joins your party. Now the dog is incredible. He'll attack twice with pretty decent power. He'll attack twice per turn. It is random, so on certain enemies it's kind of a detriment, but on most enemies it's just beneficial. You know, he'll take out the legs so you can take out the head, etc. So here we see the Yellow Mage. How I get rid of them is the left leg seems to cast the worst spells, but in general I just try and like cut the left leg and then aim for the body, and that seems to work. And here, you'll see this is level 6, I think, level 5 or 6. It's like the second part of the cave. We're going to fight this dude and then save Darcy. And I think you have to beat the dude to save Darcy, but you might be able to talk him out of it. And she's going to have her dialogue here. And apparently something horrendous happened to her. You can pause to read if you want. I kind of skipped through a lot of the dialogue in this, so if you want to read any dialogue, just make sure to pause so that you can actually read their dialogue. I'm also kind of just showcasing all the dialogue that I find, so I do kind of skip, but I want to record it. I want to have a record of it. So she serves Almer, which is interesting because I don't think she has the Tormented Soul, and I'm pretty sure Ragnvaldr, who has the Tormented Soul, is actually against her. Their goals do not align, but Ragnvaldr would maybe be more associated with Almer, because Almer is the tormented god. So something that's interesting about the Yellow Mages that I didn't talk about with the first one is if you just run around them in like in the overworld, they will actually start removing limbs. So you pretty much have to go for them immediately, or they will break both your legs. They use herding, I think, on the world map, and they just kill you. So we're going yet deeper into the dungeon. I'm looking for a specific thing here. So specifically what I'm looking for is the artifact that Ragnvaldr is after, and that Le'garde was also after when he destroyed Ragnvaldr's village. That artifact is the Cube of the Depths, which I believe might have something to do with the God of the Depths, but it's literally called the Cube of the Depths, if I'm not mistaken. So that's interesting. That brings in another god. It's also known as the Forgotten One. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. And once you take this cube, or once you recruit or save Darcy, all of the cave dwellers in the village will become hostile towards you. If you're not aggressive towards them, and you don't save Darcy and you don't grab the cube, they actually kind of ignore you. So I might try to do a run where I like try and escape with Le'garde, but what I found after the catacombs is far, far more interesting. There's like 15 of these guys, by the way. And even though they don't really do much and they're pretty easy to take care of, with the law of averages, you know, if you're fighting 15 of them, chances are you're just going to take a lot of damage over time and unfortunately have to heal. And that's kind of what happened to me here. I used a lot of my healing resources later to try and make up for the fact that I took so much damage. You can also kind of beat Pocket Cat a second time here. It doesn't happen in this run, I don't believe. There is a rope somewhere within this dungeon that you'll want to grab, or you're going to break your legs and they'll fall down. I don't think there's another way down, so you kind of have to find the rope at some point. Also towards the top, which I believe I'm getting to, that's where you can actually find the Cube of the Depths. You have to navigate the Cave Dwellers area and then go up towards the top, towards the north. And that specific hut along with some weird freaky thing, which I suspect is the God of the Depths, is where you'll find everything. So I think here's where I go up. Yeah. So this is the specific hut where the Cube of the Depths is stored. And I know from other experiments, even if you don't save Darcy, if you take the Cube of the Depths, they will all go after you, and then you'll be fighting your way out rather than fighting your way in. But either way, you're going to be fighting a lot of them. So yeah, here I got the Cube of the Depths, and then up here, that's where that really weird thing is. I haven't seen a creature that's alive to that scale. I suspect it's an older god. Most of the newer gods are more like human-shaped and human-sized, and I think given that the statues of the older gods are so big, that makes sense to me. Here we see a bunch of people in wolves' masks and a bunch of bodies. I think they're associated with Grogoroth, but I'm not sure. But if you engage with them, they want to do some kind of ritual flesh, which is weird. Also in these deeper parts of the mines, you can see that there's spirits. The spirits you actually can't fight unless you have like a cursed weapon, I think. That's the only way I found to be able to hit them. You might be able to hit them with magic or something, but physical weapons will just miss. So here we fight the guard with the ballista. Not really worth fighting. And this entire section I think can be skipped because there's one treasure chest and you have to use lockpicking or a small key probably, and you don't really get that much out of it. There's a guaranteed explosive vial, I believe, and you could use the explosive vial there, but I think that just leads you back into the mines. So we're continuing through. The Crow Mauler is chasing me the entire way. I might have actually ran past the Crow Mauler just then. So down here we can find Enki. Enki doesn't want anything to do with us. I still don't know how to recruit him. But there's another sacrificial circle here. And we can continue on. There's a Night Lurch, an Elite Guard, and a regular guard. I think these are guaranteed. I haven't seen another layout. So I think the catacombs are like a set layout. And here we find Le'Garde, and then Darcy has some dialogue saying how she's like crying and blah blah blah, and then she's trying to get him to remember, but he doesn't remember her. Remember, Darcy's basically in love with the dude, and Le'Garde just does not care. So here we equip some accessories, we equip Le'Garde, and this time I'm feeling confident enough to take on the Elite Guard. I still think this is a mistake, and I could have gotten away with not fighting him. And I do take some damage here, and I lose Darcy's left arm, which isn't a huge deal. But she just can't equip a shield anymore, which sucks. It was again a mistake, but I was really trying to go as far as I can this run. I don't know if I properly showed it here, but I got 2 Books of Enlightenment, which allow you to save at any point. And here, if you try and leave without going into the door, Le'Garde stops you and he's like, oh hey, check out this door. He doesn't directly say check out the door, but he's like, there's a strength here, there's a dark strength here, and that's what I came here for. But I still don't remember who I am or anything, so, you know, whatever. Also, if you go to the left, like the very far left of the catacombs, you can actually go back up, and it drops you off in, I believe, level 3. It's the one with like the Iron Shakespeare, that sort of area. So here we're exploring this thing, and I am going to get absolutely creamed by this dude. I don't know how to fight him. I don't really think it's worth fighting him, but maybe it is. He'll throw poison knives at you and then just kill you. There's also this dude. This dude is another one of those prisoner type enemies, and obviously he can wipe you as well, which is great. It's not fighting him either. He doesn't drop anything. I killed him in a different run. Luckily, you can actually just kind of sprint through this entire area and get to the end. It's not super big, it's just kind of maze-like. And now we've reached the ancient city of Mahabra, but it is dark. It is very dark, in fact. We have some more dialogue here. For reasons that I'll explain later, I believe this is like present Mahabharata, if you could kind of like, you know, get two different versions of Mahabharata. There's like past Mahabharata and present Mahabharata. And in present, all of the barrels that normally contain food just contain rotting stuff. But the crates actually do contain useful items. You're going to be kind of low on food for the first little bit here, but supplies are more plentiful. And if you found a pipe, obviously, you know, all the tobacco you're finding is going to come in handy. So here we're fighting the Lord of Flies. He's pretty scary. I don't know if it doesn't seem worth it to fight him either, because he just does like big damage to you, but I'm not sure if he can be avoided or if he like blocks your path. He seemed to be blocking my path there, but he might be able to be avoided. This is the Gaunt Guard. He's apparently lost his mind, and I believe I fight him or like a version of him later. There's also spiders down here, which I do fight. They're pretty evasive, so you'll miss a lot. I get lucky with that first hit and think they're easy and don't care. And then I use the explosive vial here and open this chest. The chest contained nothing, probably not worth an explosive vial, since they can also be used in combat to great effect. I also used one of the stones I grabbed from the rubble to kind of test what that pit was doing, and it said that the fall would be lethal or something to that effect. Like you couldn't hear it fall, so it must be super, super deep. So I think that would be a game over if you jumped in there. I also just fought that spider that second time, and you see that I missed a lot. And I think they probably can poison you or something. And this is the beacon. You can pause to read if you want, but you use the Cube of the Depths, and then it's gonna do this. And now it's sunny outside, and you no longer need to keep torches on you. There's a bunch of different NPCs to talk to. They don't seem to do much, and half of the town is still hostile towards you. So, I don't really know. They seem to be like constructs or like children of the gods or something, but they're all kind of malformed. And then, like I said, half the people want to kill you anyway. So here there's a bed. It's not very safe. You could tear the blanket for cloth. I don't think I did that. And there's a chest here, but we're gonna just kind of cruise through the city. It's the entire city is like a maze, right? It's like a whole. It's like the first 7 sections of the dungeon combined, but it's in a sprawling city layout. So you have to keep going back and forth, and then going to the past and the present, and kind of trying to figure out your way in this map. So here we're messing around with our equipment. I believe this is where I might have equipped the 2 Sorcerer's Stones. The Sorcerer's Stones grant mind, like 10 mind every round of combat, which is super incredible. Since mind is used for a lot of the different spells in the game, I think it'll come in super handy. This right here is the Tower of the Endless. At the top here, there's a bed that says that it's safe, but then when you rest in it, it actually just takes you to a dreamscape, which is kind of weird, but we're gonna kind of explore that. So when we sleep in the bed, it's gonna take us to a dream sequence. This is the Kingdom of Rondon. So not only do you have to explore the city of Mahabharata, but also the Kingdom of Rondon as well, which is a completely different city with a completely different layout. There's posters all over that say something about missing children, I believe 13 of them. And here we actually find a brothel, which is kind of interesting. Kind of tells you what this city is all about. And here we actually get some interesting dialogue. So this is not Tony here talking, right? Tony is Kahara, remember. This is Tony, or Kahara, speaking with his wife, Celeste. I think it's his wife. I'm not really sure. It might be just his girlfriend or whatever, but they're discussing how to make ends meet. And she's like, hey, business is good here, and she's working as a prostitute. And he's like, well, hey, I have a really good job coming up, and maybe y'all don't gotta do that anymore. So he's trying to get his wife out of prostitution, which kind of adds a lot of backstory. We actually started as him, and basically he grew up in the streets of Rondon, and he had to become a thief to survive. So he's been doing odd jobs and kind of thievery work for a long time now. That's kind of how he's gotten by. So down here, we can see a very interesting encounter, and I'll just kind of let that play out. So if you heard that properly, there is a cat there that it sounded like it ate the child. So with that, I kind of suspect that that was Pocket Cat. And maybe Pocket Cat isn't so much a pedo, which I thought he was, or like a human trafficker, but actually might be a devourer of children. He might actually eat them. They're like his food. So he trades you really good stuff for food, which I don't know if that's better or worse, to be honest. So here we also meet Enki. Enki is kind of held on the cross, very similar to Almer. I did not know that he was also a follower of Almer, or if he's just doing that because that's something. But you see he kind of protested there, if you read the dialogue, which is interesting. But again, that's a dream sequence, so he wasn't really there. And here I ran into the guard not knowing that that's what that is, that that's a guard. And running into the guard takes you out of the dream sequence, and then you gotta start all over. So here we find Ragnvaldr, again into the dream sequence. So this isn't actually Ragnvaldr, remember, we're dreaming. And I'm kind of just letting this play out here, because this is interesting. So basically, I guess Darcy and Le'garde completely basically committed genocide, right? Which makes Le'garde kind of similar to Hitler, I guess. Because remember, they slaughtered every man, woman, and child in that village. And that is an incredibly immoral thing to do. Basically, no matter what, there's no justification for that kind of violence. And it kind of makes sense why Ragnvaldr would want to find Le'garde and get his revenge. But I'm going to have to play as Ragnvaldr to really find out what's going on. So here you hear more barking. I'm not sure if dogs come after you or not. I didn't wait around to find out, really. And I really don't want to fight dogs. The well does nothing. But this is kind of the end of the dream sequence here. And you can see Ragnvaldr's just completely awestruck by the destruction and everything else that's going on. I go in here and I suspect another boss fight, so I'm going to heal up real quick. And this time I was correct. All the other times I was wrong, but this time I was correct in expecting a boss. This one's the Skin Granny. It's quite unsettling, and we're going to play the audio for it here. Just because we're going to kind of play out the boss fight a little bit. So the first phase, there's nothing. The second phase, she has 3 arms that each do like critical hits to you and cause bleeding and a whole bunch of other really nasty side effects. So I try and get rid of her arms in one turn here, but unfortunately I didn't quite do enough damage. I needed like 50 more damage on each character to really kill her. So here we're going to use an explosive vial in combat. This is one of the reasons why I think you really need to save those explosive vials for when you need them. To either clear an interesting path, or like I'm doing here, to get rid of a bunch of arms. So here, just in case the explosive vial isn't enough, I'm also targeting the left hand, but the explosive vial is enough, and now we're going to start targeting the body. So when she's like this, her only real move is to kick, which does a pretty decent amount of damage. I think it does around 30, but she doesn't do it all the time, which is fine. That's actually perfect. And the rest of the fight from here on is easy. If she would have attacked Kahara there, I would have been dead. But instead, she attacked Darcy, which is fine. Still, Kahara and Darcy both have 1 hit point left, and I've basically no healing items. And as you see later, I'm not getting out of this one. After the fight, we get this interesting dialogue between Le'Garde and Darcy, kind of after they've completely ravaged Ragnvaldr's village. I'm just gonna let this play out. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this, but there are a lot of interesting parallels to Berserk here. In particular, Le'Garde kind of reminds me of Griffith, from everything from being beautiful to being like an accomplished warrior, to even his status of potentially trying to achieve godhood. And I guess that would make Ragnvaldr Guts? I'm really not sure. And then I haven't read enough of Berserk to know who Darcy is. I've seen like 4 of the Berserk films, but I haven't actually read the manga. So, but unfortunately the adaptations I've heard are not that great. I still enjoyed them though. That's also not to say that all of the characters have a parallel to Berserk. Just those 2 in particular seem to kind of have equivalents. So here we meet Nilvin, who is one of the new gods, and the god that has the Endless Soul. I think this is interesting because Kahara also has the Endless Soul, and we're playing as Kahara, but I'm not sure if it matters or not. Her belly is slightly swollen, which I think is an interesting detail. That might suggest that she just gave birth or she's pregnant. Now her request is kind of weird. She wants us to get her daughter to safety somehow. She specifically requests us to take her to the Heart of Darkness. Now, it's not clear exactly who she's talking to, but the only woman in my party would be Darcy. So this could imply that Darcy is the child of Nilvin. The other possibility is she's referring to the girl who I've given to Pocket Cat. But I also don't know where the Heart of Darkness is. It could be somewhere in the city or somewhere in the dungeon. I really don't know. For agreeing to her terms, though, she gives us the Endless Soul, which makes sense because she is the Endless New God. So when we awake, we're in bad shape. 2 of our characters only have 1 HP each, and the run is not going super well. I don't think I'm going to last much longer, so I'm willing to be a little bit more experimental because I expect to die and we literally just saved. But if I can get enough healing items, I might be able to turn this run around. So here we're avoiding as many fights as possible. So we go back to the past, and the nameless figure says we're not worthy, and we have to go through pain and enlightenment to pass. It seems to suggest maybe we need to fight the tormented soul, the tormented one, and the enlightened one. Here we're going to fight these creepy scarab dudes. They don't do much, but they have a lot of hit points. So I just kind of try and run, but they are pretty persistent, and this one in particular is coming in pairs. So I do believe I wipe here. I could be wrong. Yeah, he just pokes Kahara and then I'm dead. So that's great. So I restart and we're going down the Endless Tower again. This time I'm speeding up to 4 times. I have been doing 3 times. But a lot of this content is repeated. So we're going to go to the present and then investigate the thing again, and there's actually a circle there. I'm noticing now that the circle actually has the symbol of Grogoroth in it, if you actually take a look at the sacrificial circle, and I'm not sure what that means. We find an old soldier or I guess a dead soldier. I didn't use the soul. Oh, I did use the soul stone. We just got a lesser soul, I think. So nothing too important. But it's interesting that there's a soldier that's dead down here. And I believe here we're gonna wipe again, or at least we lose Darcy. I think we wipe later. Spoiler alert. So we're going to continue on through the Winding City. This Winding City, I don't know if I mentioned it before, but it is huge and winding and just a really, really massive place. So here we're fighting this knight. It seems to be the same gaunt knight that we met before. And we're unable to escape. And we're just going to die here. And that's all she wrote. So now we're going to start over yet again. Going down the stairwell again, and at this point I'm a little bit frustrated and kind of confused on where to go, because there are so many different paths that I could take that I haven't explored yet, and I haven't been able to find any healing items to actually cure my wounds. So I'm looking for kind of any supplies here. I find a lucky coin. It's not going to do much, and we're roaming around the city just trying to find anything we can find, really. So here, this is interesting. So this is like a little loop-de-loop, like a little circle. It just circles back on itself. It's also a dead end. But you can see I can go underneath and kind of explore that way. And it loops around. And I think I loop around a couple times before I figure out that I probably need to go to the past. So I do. And in the past, I light those sconces again. And then kind of explore around, try and go the same path, but this time it's blocked. I could potentially use a rope, but I don't have a rope, so I just jump down, and now I lost dash since like my ankles are broken or whatever. I also find this interesting thing. It says it's a spear soaked in the blood of 40 men, so potentially that's a really powerful weapon. There's also an area of the cave back there where it says this area looks different than the others, so potentially there's a thing that you can do. There's also scientific notes. I'm slowing down the footage here so you can pause and read if you want, but it basically talks about creating artificial life, and there's like 100 mannequins in here. It's really creepy, but luckily there are more supplies, and more recent supplies too. So if you want to, kind of take the implication there, I guess somebody was working on something recently, because there's actually food down there. Here we find this little area, and there's nothing really to do, but I spin the wheels anyway. And we're fighting more spiders. Luckily, spiders aren't too much of a threat, but they could start draining our resources if we're not careful. So now we're gonna go down to this pit, and there's a bunch of I think it just says Pit of Torment. So I should have taken that as oh, it's the pit of the god of torment, or the tormented soul. But I didn't read that far into it at the time. So we go back to the past, and there's still the Pit of Torment there. We're going to go up, and we're going to kind of explore, see what's different. And honestly, not much is different. But I do find that when I come back here, the levers are jammed this time. And I kind of explore around. There's this really creepy dude. He makes a horrendous noise after you run away. But I think he does too much damage, and we are not in a position where we can fight him right now. So, chains are hanging on the ceiling. I am going to put Darcy on the chains and just kind of let me do that. I didn't choose a character there. And now, as we pull these levers, we're kind of chased by this dude. This is the god of the tormented. If you haven't been paying attention, that is definitely the god of the tormented. And he just kind of looks at you and then runs away. And then as we pull these levers, you can see Darcy's skin is slowly stretching out. And we're increasing her pain. I think this might be necessary, so you literally have to do a human sacrifice in order to beat the tormented one and pass that guy. So I'm really hoping it was worth it. We're not going to find out though, because we're going to die in this run. Spoiler alert. So she dies, and she's a skinless husk. And we find that while we're going down, the pool of blood is filling. And now we're going to fight the tormented one. I'm sure that this is a multi-phase fight because this is a new god. I believe this is the first time I'm facing off against a new god. And even this first phase, I'm assuming what is the first phase, he's incredibly strong with just his normal attacks. We do manage to lob off an arm, which I'm going to assume probably doesn't matter for the future. Anyway, so we fight this dude, and he's just going to clobber us, and then that's the end of the run. So, I didn't find out if he had a second phase. I'm assuming he does have a second phase. Or maybe even a third phase. I really have no idea. Either way, we are not going to be strong enough with just Kahara and Le'Garde. And we wipe here. So, lots of new discoveries, and I'm excited for what's going to come next.